Phillip Lowe.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm really good to see you after all this time.
Thank you. It's good to see you.
It's really good to see you. Welcome back to theatre.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
Isn't it?
It's great. Zoe and I, since theatre, because Come From Away was the first sort of show to get back into the swing of things, we just had a little hiatus and we went and saw as much as we could cabaret, theatre, musicals. So it's just great to see everything.
Do you remember the first time walking in a theatre after being gone for so long?
Yes, it was. We walked into because everything was shut down. We actually rehearsed this show in the Regent Theatre in Melbourne.
Wow. Okay.
So a 2,500 seat auditorium just for us, and that never happens. So that was the first time in a theatre, but the first time seeing a show was probably also in Melbourne. I can't even remember what it was, but it was one of those things where you're just looking around going, look, people. And they're so close. Yeah. So a little bit of anxiety, but it was like, yes.
Because we're opening at the Capitol Theatre here in Sydney, and it's 100% capacity and not necessarily masks.
No, that's weird, because throughout the whole Melbourne season, everyone was masked up. And it did muffle the response a bit, but standing ovations every night, so, can't complain.
Come From Away started in Melbourne 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Then it was supposed to reach Sydney last year, but of course COVID hit.
Yes.
And then you started back at the beginning in Melbourne in January.
Yeah, it was strange because it was the whole thing about, is it happening, is it not happening, are we going to be having to wear masks in the theatre? I mean, as soon as the shutdown happened, the company were great. They started drafting their COVID plan the instant that lockdown sort of happened in Melbourne, and we've even got a soundtrack. and the thing is that at no point did the producers ever say we're shutting the show. There was always a position of, when we come back, the producers from the States were sending us emails saying, look, we can't wait for you all to come back. It's happening. Don't worry about all of that. And whereas other companies of shows were just being told, sorry, show's closing, you're out of work.
Do you think that comes with the nature of the show?
Oh yeah, the leading with kindness. I mean, the family sort of environment that we have in this show is unlike anything I've ever experienced before. It's incredible, and just the level of care that we all have for each other. That's never happened. And it's hard not to, because the audience really engage with it on that level. People come out. Zoe and I had a lady, Wharfie, come up to us the other night and say, this show is just, it means so much. People talk to us in tears about how much it means.
How much it means. I should also say Zoe Gertz plays Beverly and Others,
yes.
And she is your wife.
Yes, we're married, which makes the family thing even more pronounced. Yes, so she joined the original company from the scratch, and I joined 6 months ago, and that never happens, as a performing arts couple. You're always in different states. But, we've won the lottery with this.
And it's a beautiful show. So Come From Away, what really is the show about? Kindness,
and it's also a love letter to the people of Newfoundland and Canada in general. they think nothing of what they did. They think, oh, you would have done the same, and it's like, well, actually, a lot of people wouldn't do the same. But I suppose the lesson is that you'd be surprised at how kind and generous people can be. Australians have a bit of that, I think.
I interviewed some of the original Newfoundlanders that were actually based on the characters, and they said the exact same thing about Australia, very, very much like Australia. So it's 9/11, it's 38 planes diverted because American airspace was closed after 9/11. They were diverted to Gander, and Gander and surrounding towns took care of them for 5 days. You watch that on stage evolve without even a intermission.
No, it's great. You don't have to applaud as an audience. I think there's 3 places where we give the audience time to breathe throughout the entire show, to actually sort of take a breath and perhaps applaud if they want. But it's an absolute juggernaut. 100 minutes straight through. You can make a 9 o'clock booking for dinner.
Which you and Zoe probably could.
Oh, yeah.
So you play Nick, and Nick and Diane met on the exact same airplane, and were in Gander, and they fell in love.
Yeah. I mean, of all the strange things to happen, but you see it happen in movies, that strange circumstances bring love, and that's what had happened with Nick and Diane. Their story was one of the first stories to when they were writing the show, one of the first stories to be kept in, and at no point were they ever that plot was ever going to be chucked out, because it's just such a lovely story. I mean, they're still together, and they met during this awful time. So on one hand, they have a bit of guilt about that, because it's sort of the best time of their lives, set against the backdrop of one of the most awful events in Western history, I guess. Yeah.
Do you remember where you were with the 9/11 events?
My family had an oyster farm in the Southern Ocean on the Nullarbor. So I was as far away as you could possibly get. We had 2 TV channels. One was ABC and one was like a regional station. So I didn't hear about it until I got in from the ocean that night. And at that point it was still sort of, I can't remember. I remember thinking, how the hell did someone drive a plane into the World Trade Center? How incompetent would you have to be? I had no idea that it was a terrorist attack. And then once it started to sink in, I was like, I'm glad I'm as far away from anywhere as I could be, because it's desert where I was. So I felt, well, thank God I'm not in Sydney or Melbourne or, God help us, New York.
Because you weren't feeling the trauma and the shock and going through all the images
and
that
also
everybody else had
I thought,
seen.
well, everyone was sort of, well, not everyone, but I sort of thought, well, this is it. It's World War III.
Yes, that's what everyone thought.
Yeah, and so it's like, well, we're safe here because we're in the desert.
I find that really interesting, because the parallel of you being completely somewhere in the middle of the ocean, and yet here you are representing up on stage Nick, who met Diane in the middle of the ocean, the north tip of Canada, the furthest place from anywhere.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, there is a parallel there. But I remember just feeling so relieved that I wasn't. My first thought was, thank God I'm not anywhere near there, and that sort of, I couldn't imagine what it would be like to be off the northeast tip of North America somewhere, and have family in New York City or friends or work colleagues. I couldn't imagine what that would be like.
And I think that's what's so great about this show. It's not about 9/11, it's about 9/12,
Yeah.
as in the kindness and how they really rescued a lot of these people and dealing with emotions.
Yeah, because it's not. It's funny because the show, it's hard to explain to people because people say it's a 9/11 musical, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, but it's not that sort of. It's not an orgy of suffering, which a lot of theatre or shows can be. This is about, okay, this awful thing has happened. How do we deal with it? What happens then? And it's about the kindness and love that rises to the top.
Newfoundland has a certain accent. You didn't have to. Did you have to learn it because you play others as well as Nick?
Yeah, the other character I sort of play primarily is an air traffic controller in Gander, so I have to babble off a lot of directions to Lufthansa flights and all of this kind of thing in a Gander accent. It's weird. Sometimes I wander into Irish, sometimes I wander into American, sometimes I turn up somewhere in Africa in terms of my accent. But, yeah, it's a unique accent.
Well, see, Gander was the biggest airspace
Airport
in the world.
Yeah,
before, of course, the big jumbo jets could make the trip to, say, America to England.
Yeah, which sort of was a testimony to how remote the place is, I guess, because if it's far enough between Europe and the US that it's like, okay, we can stop over there and refuel in Gander. That's testimony to how far away it is.
Nick, have you met Nick and Diane?
No, I haven't. I think they were supposed to come over here, but for this one, but this opening, but COVID. Pretty sure Zoe met them, but yeah, I don't recall meeting them.
Nick and Diane spent their first wedding anniversary in Gander. When all this is over and our airspace is open, do you think you and Zoe will go there?
Yeah, we are. Because Zoe lived in the States for a little while, and I've never been to New York, and it's not far away, is it?
No.
It's not far. Just get up there, and we'd never have any problem finding a place to sleep because
the door's always open, the kettle always on.
We'd find so many places to stay, I think.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Congratulations on the role, and I can't wait to see Come From Away.
Thanks for having me. Hope you enjoy it.
On the northeast tip of North America, on an island called Newfoundland, there's an airport, and next to it is a town called Gander. Tonight, we honour what was lost, but we also commemorate what we found there. You are here at the start of a moment, on the edge of the world, where the river meets the sea. Here on the edge of the Atlantic, on an island in between.
Nice to be in orbit.